All right, it looks like it's recording. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube. This is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs. This is Halfass Presents the podcast. Today's special guest is Joseph Blevins, all the way from Texas. He's pretty well known for his models and his awesome modern day building structures. When I say modern day, I mean like today's buildings, not 1950s buildings that are on everybody else's layouts. Joseph, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in the hobby?
Hey, Sam. Hey, everybody. Hey, I started out the hobby probably about 7 or 8 years old. My brother got a train set for Christmas, and I didn't get it. But then I took to his, started playing with his. I never got my own train set until I was in my teens when I started cutting grass on my own. And so I got started basically with trains. But I've always been like a car guy, so I started collecting cars in my teens. Started out with the Herpa models, quite expensive for a teen, but I cut grass, bought here and there what I could. Still got a couple of the original models. And then I mostly use the train hobby to collect the cars. Mostly, I have probably close to 750 cars in my collection, and about 500 18-wheeler trucks.
Geez.
Yeah, quite a bit.
That's a big collection you got there. So you got into trains as a young kid, and trains led into vehicles. I've been a classic car fanatic ever since I was a little kid. Growing up in Southern California, having car shows every single weekend all over the state, it was so easy to go see anything and everything you wanted. So I fell in love with cars. I just became a modeler, but you started off with trains and then went into the cars. Naturally, you have to have cars on your layout. That's pretty cool. Most people just kind of stick with the car or the trains and then don't really go into cars. That's just like a background. So the fact that you went into cars and then you started collecting a whole bunch of them, and that's all in the 187 scale, or is that just in kind of all scales that you have that many?
I just do 187. I have like 4 or 5 Hot Wheels maybe, but
oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've got like 5,000 Hot Wheels and probably 700 187 scale cars.
Yeah.
Since I've been collecting. That's awesome, man. So in today's world, in your modeling, where in the time scale of models do you like more? Like some people like say Mike Budd, he does like 1970 to 1978 or something similar to that. And then other people just do 1950s. Where's your era for modeling at?
I wouldn't say I have a particular era, but I think probably I lean more towards modern. I have more modern stuff than anything else. So modern maybe like into the 80s till present. Same thing you kind of see on the road today still.
Yeah, that's even though I do mostly just classic cars, that's the same thing as me. Like I build the classic cars to look like you'd see them today on the road at a car show or cruising somewhere. I like the 50s. That's my like love of the time period of my or not even my generation, but my lifespan is the 1950s. I wish I was a teenager in that decade. But you don't have the cool customs that you do today back then. You have classic customs like George Bear's customs, but you don't have like the extreme neat lowrider customs or the rat rods back then that you do today. And so I stick with today's sort of scene, and it's cool to see that you have a more modern time frame that you like to stick with as well. I've seen some of those 3D printed modern day vehicles that you've found the designs for and printed, and those are pretty neat, man. I like that you're going out of the spectrum and not doing the norm of 3D printing.
Right. And my favorite probably era of the cars is probably in the 80s. That's what I grew up, I learned how to drive in the late 80s, early 90s with my mom's cars. I have a love for Honda because that's what I learned how to drive in. But I like to, all the cars from the 80s really. And unfortunately, 3D printing is one of the only ways you can get some of those obscure, weird cars that you don't, they're not mainstream for the model railroad industry. So I'm diving into learning how to 3D print myself. I did buy some cars off of Shapeways and complete build those. So I do have a couple cars I printed up recently. I have a 1990 Honda Accord. It is part of a kit. I don't know how clear, but it's going to be a 2-piece kit.
Oh, nice. Those are the best kind.
Yeah. And I know this camera is not going to pick up any of the good details, but I really haven't really worked with it yet, except for printing it and then test fitting it. But I really need to get on the ball and work on those. This car here, I bought off Shapeways. It's a Acura Integra. This one is completed.
And I love that car.
This was a 2-piece kit as well.
Love it.
And
it's a T, not a T top. It's a
Type
does it
R.
have a roof?
Has a
okay.
sunroof.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
But yeah, I painted the interior red like a real Type R.
Mm-hmm.
It's even got the white Type R paint of Honda.
Oh, that's cool.
I just printed this car this afternoon. It's a Toyota Tercel wagon. My parents had one of these when I was a kid, and this is what it looks like when you first take it off the printer with all the supports. Yeah. So I printed it flat on the printer like this. So the printer program generates these supports, so it will print out the body of the car, and you can easily break those off. Here's one that's already all broke off.
A Tercel wagon. Wow.
Yeah, Tercel wagon. Yeah. So my parents had one of those growing up, and I remember all my childhood, like going camping in that car and all kinds of crazy stuff we did for that car. I think we owned it for 10 years. But I was going to try to recreate some of the cars my mom and dad had when I was a kid. And I found a guy on the internet that will design these cars for me, shell and the chassis, for a relatively good price that I, was willing to pay for it, because some guys are crazy with their prices. But hopefully I can mass produce those things once I get everything dialed in, and maybe offer to other people. Yeah,
I think that's awesome, because there's been some cars that I've had that I wish I could get a model of, and there's not yet a design for them. And I mean, there's a design for some of them, but not like the modern day ones. Like I had a 96 Mazda Protege that I think that was the first car I had when me and my wife got married. And I think that would be kind of cool to have. Not that I don't think I'd even do anything with it, but just the fact that I have it, I could say, hey, I got a little car of what we, started our life together with.
Right. That would be pretty cool.
My wife's dream car was an 86 or 87 Honda CRX.
Oh, yeah.
Little square back ones, hatchback. And I think that might be cool to get, just to build it the way that she liked it. Not that she cares about cars in any way. She wouldn't do nothing with the car I built her, but just say, hey, I was thinking about you.
I think I have the mold for that car somewhere. I bought it from BS Designs, I think. And I resin copied it, and I hollowed it out because it was a solid car. I can't tell you where it's at today. It's probably packed away in all my stuff.
You did just move, so yeah.
Yeah,
that would make
so
sense.
I still have to unpack everything. I don't have everything unpacked yet, but I think I have a CRX actually.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's also We also, right after that Mazda, we had a 99 GMC Jimmy, which was like the smallest SUV at the time. And I think that'd be cool. I think somebody makes that though. I think there's a company that makes that. I don't
I
know. I
think,
haven't looked into
but
it.
there's a Blazer, the
Blazer,
twin, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
it's made
almost,
by
it's the
Bush.
same thing. Oh,
Bush,
okay.
yeah, they make one.
Yeah. I thought about maybe getting that too, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
it's kind of. I would like to have everything. I want to have every one of the cars I ever owned. Could be an expensive
Yeah.
adventure, but at the end of the day, it'd be pretty cool to have it.
I would love to have every one of Mad About Cars designs on Shapeway,
Oh,
like
yeah,
one
me
of
too.
every one, with the highest quality. So all it needs is paint and put together, and I'd be out on the street with nowhere to build, probably
Right.
divorced.
Yeah, he's got some nice stuff. I perused through his catalog there on the internet. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool stuff there. I
Well,
wish I could do that kind of stuff myself. I've gotten to where I can design building parts and parts of stuff, but I haven't anywhere near the level of car design.
well, I honestly think it would be cool if we could just maybe the 3D printer. I talked about this with William and some other guests, that the 3D printer could literally be a 3-in-1, where you put a model car in or a Hot Wheel car, it'll automatically downscale it to just literally putting in numbers 1/87 scale, and then it'll downsize that 3D scan that it'll do from it, print it out, and then maybe on a conveyor belt move it to paint it for you, and then come back the next day and it's completely dry and done.
Yeah, that would be a
That's what we
dream
need.
machine for sure.
Yeah, it really would be.
Yeah, I would be broke as well with that sucker.
Oh yeah,
Printing. Yeah.
we all would. Because as soon
Right.
as the 3-in-1 comes out like that, oh, everybody's gonna waste all their money to go get it.
For sure. Yeah.
But that's cool that you ventured into that 3D world, because I mean, I talked to you when I got my 3D printer, and honestly, I haven't mastered any of it. I literally haven't mastered none of it. And I've watched so many YouTube videos, and it's one of these things that are like, I've said in other podcasts, it just seems to like I have old man syndrome. I don't want to learn anything new. I want it to be much more simpler. And that thing is, the programming is too complicated for me at this moment.
I
I'm
think
sure
if you can
once I figure it out, I'll kick
if you can
myself in the butt, but till then.
figure out Zoom, you can figure out the 3D printing.
Zoom is a lot of just click here, click there, and then just send the invite.
Right.
I want my printer to be that way. I said it in other podcasts. I said, I want the printer to be, take the design from Shapeway, just the picture, slide it over to the printer, use the scale, and done. That's how
Bam.
easy I want it.
Well,
But
it's not that easy, but it's not difficult. I think you need to take some time and sit down and learn it one day.
you know how many model cars I can build in that time?
I know. I think the same thing.
The fastness I go.
I think the same thing about buildings or whatever I'm doing, whatever project I got going on. Like, I can be doing this, but then once you get the printer going, you just let it print in the background for
True.
4 or 5 hours, and then you can do your thing.
And that's so funny. I've been at home working thanks to this COVID. And I had a setup in my model room, and my 3D printers in my model room. In fact, you can see it sitting right there with just junk all in it, because I haven't figured out how to use it that good. With that being said, my computer's literally right next to me that I have to use to work with, and every day that I'm here working, I could have this printer running. But I have an idea, Joseph, Mr.
Yes.
Master of the 3D printer. You
Don't go
just
too
send me
far.
the file already downscaled, and then I will print it.
We can talk after.
Yeah. How much money do I need to give you first?
None. But I'll walk you through it. It's
Well,
easier
I
than you
owe
think.
you $1 million still. I told you I'd pay you $1 million for whatever first model you made for me, and I still haven't paid you, but the IOU's in the mail.
Hope it's not 187 million.
You know what? Don't get specific, buddy. You didn't say how you wanted it in the first place. In fact, you didn't even say you wanted it. I just said I was going to give it to you.
Right.
With that being said, so not only do you build 187 scale vehicles, you collect 187 scale vehicles, and now you're 3D printing 187 scale vehicles. I like your modern day buildings. You're doing something very few people have kind of jumped on the ball with, and I think you're smashing it out of the park. Your modern buildings look amazing. And you build them fairly quickly, from what I understand. From the beginning of the time you post your first post to the last post of it finished, just seems like only a few weeks, if that.
Yeah, it's like you and your cars. If you sit down and do it, once you get started with it, it goes by pretty quick.
Right.
And then, I have no like engineering background or drafting or anything. I just look at a picture and do it from that. Just, using some measurements, that I try to get off Google or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty cool. One of the buildings I'm making or made for the module for the meet that got canceled, RPM. I have it set up here.
The Route 187 scale modules.
Yeah. Well, not the whole module, but oops.
Yeah, that's cool. That thing is awesome looking.
I got the McDonald's sign, the road sign. I even have, it's not set up, but I have the, in the back, the menu boards to drive through line.
Is it lit up too?
It is lit up. And I even got lights underneath the, you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're shining down. We can see
underneath the
camera.
eaves. Yeah, there's General Lee.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's moonshine in that trunk.
I bet there is. But yeah, so like half this building is 3D printed. All the details obviously are 3D printed. The body of the building is made out of some, I like to call it like super thick cardstock, but it's a paper type material. And then the rest of the building is 3D printed plastic.
That's awesome, though. I mean, like I said, there's only a few group of people out there doing. I think there's one or two companies that had just started doing it at like the same time you started posting your modern buildings, and those companies are probably, I mean, obviously they're mass producing the same building over and over again, and
Right.
they're probably selling them for more than they're probably worth, maybe. And your buildings, I haven't seen you do anything that has already been done, which is even better, because it's not like, oh, well, I offer this for cheaper, but it's the same version as, whatever train company's building it.
Right.
And with that being said, your buildings seem to, in my opinion, they look better. They look better than what's advertised in these catalogs for the new companies that are doing it.
I appreciate that, but to me, it's just fun for the hobby. It's fun to have something to put the cars by or to make a scene with. Eventually, I am going to build a train set in this room and have a full-blown city and town or whatever. But for now, I just got these little tiny dioramas going and working on a bigger one. But one day I'll have it.
That's like me. I don't want to technically build a train set in this room, but I think if I could line the walls kind of like Ken Patterson's style of module making, and
Yeah.
then have the Route 187 scale modules line the wall, just so I have my own city, but without a train on it.
Right.
I think that's where I would go with, because I like trains, and my era of trains that I love is steam engines, and none of my cars is going to work in a 1900s themed train set. So I like cars more than I like the train. So I would do like a whole entire wall of modules of like a nice road scene with parking lots everywhere to have car shows in every other building. You have one building, big parking lot with a car show. On this side of the building, have a big parking lot with a car show.
Right.
It'd just be a big, huge car show city.
Well, that's actually kind of like my plan to do for the module I'm going to do for the RPM meet. I built a small shopping center, and I'm going to do a car show, cars and coffee type deal in
Right.
the middle of that. I got the building here. I don't have it set up on a module, but so all of my buildings too have people and interiors in them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. And
So
that really looks real, which is great. I mean,
Starbucks coffee, yeah. I mean, it's going to be, sitting on the thing in a parking lot in this area.
yeah, right.
And then, have like a cars and coffee type place there. That's my
It's
plan.
funny that you're building that, because for the last 2 years, I've been wanting to build a huge, like 3x2 or 4x2 module that's just the parking lot with road front in the front to get into the driveway of the parking lot.
Right.
And I haven't built it yet. And you're already further than I am in what I want to do. And I think you're going to get done with yours before I even started mine. And I've been wanting to do this for a long time now.
Right. We don't even really have to have a building there. Just put a parking lot with some curbs and grass and trees and whatnot and call it good.
That's what I was going to do. I wasn't going to have any buildings on mine. But
yeah,
I have these ideas in my head, but I can build one car in a day and then build another car in a day, when a module is going to take me weeks and weeks just to get all the supplies and get everything I need for it. So I kind of just keep plugging away with day projects.
Right.
that I can finish and end in the same day.
My module has been under construction for a while, but since the pandemic, I slowed way down on the construction of it, because it's no need right now. Yeah.
Right.
But all the buildings are done anyway. I have several buildings I'm going to put on it, and all those are done. And I have the parking lot pretty much done. I just need to landscape it, I guess, and light it up.
Well, I gotta commend you. You're doing a great job on the modern scene buildings, because I literally think the companies that are building modern buildings today started the same time you started posting yours, and they probably took the cue from you and said, "Oh my God, there's a whole market out there that we're not covering. Look, this guy's building them. We gotta match them."
Yeah.
And with that, you built one of the best structures in HO 187 scale history of all time. And it's the most famous and movie history of this scale. And it's all because of you that I even was able to build a diorama. But everybody that's watching, Joseph built the Back to the Future house, Marty McFly's house. And I'll tell you what, that has been the biggest result, comments, likes of any module, anything that I've ever built, was that little diorama of that scene. And I couldn't have done it without you. Literally, I wouldn't have done it, because if you didn't build it, I would have had nothing to start with.
Right. But you did all the legwork with the detailing and
You
all the
made the
grass.
house, though. I wouldn't have built the diorama waiting for a house if I didn't have a house to start with.
Well, what was your idea to build it?
Yeah, well, I'm giving you the full credit of that
Oh.
house because that thing is amazing. It, it sells the scene. I mean, you have the car, you have the little figures I made into the characters, but without that house in the background, that scene is kind of just left empty with not really anybody even knowing what part of the movie this scene was from. But when you put the house there, it ties it all together and tells the story.
Right. Yeah, it did.
Thank
You
you
did
for
a good. Hey, no problem. It's fellow modelers helping fellow modeler that.
Now, if you can just get that helix printed for me.
Yeah, I can ask the my guy to do it. I haven't been able to find the design at all. Not that
Well,
particular one.
right. It's funny, Mad About Cars. I follow him on Facebook, and he posts. He made a 87 through 91 Toyota Helix, and I said, dude, when are you going to build the 85 Helix? He goes, let me guess, the Back to the Future truck? I said, how'd you know? And he goes, let me look into that. And I think that was literally when I finished that little diorama of the scene. And that's been probably 2.5 months now, and he hasn't got back to me. So I'm assuming he's busy, and I don't want to pressure him because I'm not paying him to make that design, so
right.
he can do it at his leisure if he ever does it at all.
Well, if it doesn't work out, I have a guy that can do it, but he charges a little bit of money.
Yeah, well, takes money to have good products, so
yeah. But once it's done, the file is yours, so you can do what you want with it.
Yeah, another model I can put on my movie car list to sell.
Yeah, it'd be good. Have a whole kit going.
It's so funny because I had a guy on one of the train groups, I think after I posted that Back to the Future model, and he goes, do you have a list of all the stuff you offer? And I was like, no, but you just tell me what you want, and I can tell you if I make it or I sell it or whatever. And he goes, just give me a list. And I'm like, now I gotta go into Word in my computer and create this file, and I started creating an actual list finally of all the cars, and I've even listed cars that I don't currently have in possession, that possibly other people have made for me, and figured out sell them, and
pre-sale.
hope that person could make me another one so I can then sell that to that person.
Sure. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, I made a list and sent it to him, and he never got back to me, but whatever. Yeah. At least I made a list finally. Anyways, how about you? Do you have a list of things, like an actual price list and a thing that tells people what you offer, or do you do it that way? How do you sell your stuff?
Mostly
for people to know.
Whenever I make a building or whatever, and I picture it, and people will, hey, that's cool, and they start sending me whatever, and then I'll sell it to them if they want it. I don't have like a website or a list or whatever. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'll make it as people want it, or I do take requests to, like, some people. It's like, hey, I own my own convenience store, and can you make me a model of it, whatever. I said, sure, give me a link to the address or pictures and whatever. So I've done stuff like that, or done stuff like, I want my hobby shop, my city's hobby shop on my layout, whatever, and I'll do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I first started this whole building process. I was bored one day, and I said, let me see if I can make my own house. So I took a tape measure, measured my own house at the time, and made a model of my house.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's how I
I need a
started
model of
to
my
start.
house.
Right.
I'll send you
it's pretty
any
cool.
and all pictures you need.
Pretty cool thing to have, because mine, I don't have like I should make a diorama with it, with exactly, with the trees, everything, but I haven't done that yet. But I do have the house. It's pretty cool. I no longer have the house. They sold the house recently, but I
Now you
still
got
have the
to sell
model.
the model.
Yeah.
Sell the
No,
model.
no.
Say, this goes with the house.
Right.
Put it on the mantle. Don't ever get rid of it.
So now I
That's
need to
so
build my
funny you
new
say
house.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. There's a guy, his name was, and when I say was, it's because he unfortunately took his own life from depression. His name was Ryan Kelly, and he was, in my opinion, a master modeler. This guy he just understood how to build the way you really build in real life and scale it down. He built a road, a tar road, the exact same way as you would a real road. He dug out this, like, I don't know what he did. He laid out the foundation of the ground, then dug into that, laid gravel down, and then laid whatever material he was using for the tar on top of that. And he did it in steps so you can watch him build this real road. And then he took literally just what you said, his own house that he grew up in, scaled it down, built that frame skeleton of the house with the balsa wood, and then put the drywall up on the inside, and it's not real drywall, but whatever he
Right.
used for
Yeah.
walls. But he built it like you would a real house, a scale version of his own house he grew up in, and then built the street in the corner that the house was on. The guy was genius, and he reminds me a lot of you in this sense of building these modern stuff you see today, which you're not seeing on anybody's layout. You're not seeing anybody really making. He made stuff that you don't see people making.
Right. I
And
think I remember you posting that a while ago, right? I think it was a picture of his house or a link or something to it. I think I remember
yeah,
something about that.
yeah, it was a while. I think it's been, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years since he took his life, unfortunately. But at the end, I'd say within like a year and a half before he did that, he really slowed down in his modeling because his depression was just getting way too hectic and his life was just what it was. But before then, when he was building like a lot, the guy was just amazing. And he reminds me of you, like with your building skills. Like you see something, you say, I want to do it, and then you tackle it and then pull it off like it was nothing. And I think that is so neat because I watched him build his own house like it was nothing. And you're building these new modern buildings so quickly. I think that's awesome. I can't build fast buildings like that, scratch built at all. Like my garage I'm building I took a break on it and started something else because I just got tired of building something that took too long. Like if it
Yeah.
takes longer than a day or two, I'm kind of just burnt out already. That's how quick my building attention span is. Like I want to be able to start it, and then if I can't build it in the full day, I just give myself like one more day, and then if I don't get it done in that next day, I find something else to do.
So basically, you're painting stuff before the glue dries.
I use super glue, so it dries real quick. Almost everything I build is super glued or hot. Like my modern garage I'm building, it's all hot glue gun because I didn't want to wait for modern glue to just take too long. And then I painstakingly like carve out all the extra glue that's running out of every corner.
Right. It takes some patience, that's for sure. Like that McDonald's, as I built it or went on, I'm like, oh, I need to get this. And then, of course, you have to design it, print it, paint it. So, that takes days to do. But once you have it done, then you can replicate it faster because you have all the files already done, or just reprint the stuff or whatever. But yeah, it does take some patience, and the little cars, to detail those little cars, takes some patience. Takes patience. Those 3D printers, these little Tercel wagons I printed this today was 6-hour print. So, it takes a while.
That's not bad.
No, not
if
bad.
you can,
It's better than ordering
how
it and
long did
waiting.
it take? Okay, so somebody designed it for you. So once you get the design, all you got to do is load it into the little SD card, plug it into your printer, technically, and then just select print, right? Because it's already scaled down and designed exactly the way it needs to be. Or do you need to still do work to it after that guy designed it?
No, he designed it in 187 scale for me.
Oh, perfect.
Had it all, chopped the chassis away from the body. Everything's already done. So it is basically a ready to print file when I get it.
Yikes. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I just need to find somebody like your guy, pay him whatever he's asking, and tell him to make me whatever I want. And then all I have to do is literally plug it into my printer and say, go ahead at it.
Basically.
do your thing.
That's kind of cheating, I guess, in a way.
Care.
I don't care either. I don't have the skill level to do the car design from scratch,
Oh, me neither.
Yeah. I don't
even really want to work with die-cast that much. Like, if I have to customize a die-cast car, that's too much work. Give me something plastic or resin.
Right.
That's funny, though, because when I got done building my, or not done, but when I took a break from building my garage, I started building rebuilding. I took it apart, a 1/25th scale 64 Impala that I built 12 years ago. And so I took it all apart and I started rebuilding it, giving it a different look. I will honestly say that thing's been in the works for 3 weeks now, way longer than I ever thought it was going to be. And I got these ready to lay decals, lowrider decals, printed by a guy that's no longer doing them, but he made these lowrider pattern jobs. And they were magnificent. They're the best designed decals for lowrider style cars on the market. And unfortunately, he's no longer doing them. But as you well know, there's ways around that. And those same decals, those same images that you've seen, is that guy basically. And so I put him on the car, and I got a bunch of people saying, why didn't you just paint that design on the car? Why did you use decals? That's cheating. When I said, I don't even care. Look, I'm not in the business of making it every single thing completely realism, whatever. If I can get it and make it look good, that's my MO, okay? That's my thing. I make it look good. I don't go out and design the thing myself. I don't go out and, like the Ecto car, I didn't design that car. Mad About Cars made it, and I just been buying a whole bunch of them from them.
Right.
So, yeah, I make it look good, something that's already been out and created. So,
I hear you. I like to cheat like that myself.
Cheating, I don't care.
Yeah. I like to cheat like that too. I want to have a ready-made model, ready to play, but finding out slowly the 3D printing is not like that. There's a lot of work to go into those suckers to get them to look half as good as the production models.
Yeah, you had recently printed some charger decals for the chargers. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. What did that take for you to do that? Because I've never printed my own decals. I've never downscaled an actual image to make decals for.
Well, I kind of like do it a cheating kind of way. I print it on paper first, and then I cut it out and then size it up to the car. That looks good. That don't look good. Let me make it bigger, make it smaller, whatever.
I think that's how I would do it.
send the decal paper down the printer.
Right, that'd
But
be a waste
yeah,
until you had it perfect.
so yeah, I kind of do that. I size them to what I think I can measure it to, best of my abilities, and then print it out and then cut it out and put it up to the car. Hey, that looks good. That don't look good. Whatever. But
Well, I
yeah,
remember that the latest batch, I guess, or the last batch that you posted of those decals on the cars you built,
yeah,
or just put the decals on. Those looked awesome, man. It
yeah.
really brought the car to life with
It
those
did.
decals.
You see those,
Really cool.
all kinds of ways on the road these days with all those decals of Hemi or whatever the Chargers, Challenger, whatever it's called. Yeah, it really brought the car to life. And no, I don't know why the manufacturers aren't doing that themselves. I mean, that's an easy win.
You would think so. I mean, I look at like the 187 scale Hot Wheels that came out for 3 years only, and the paint schemes that they have on those are, I mean, they do it the same exact way as the 164 scale. They just downscaled their product line, and their machinery probably to do it. I don't know. But you think if Hot Wheels can put an elaborate flame job on the side of a 187 scale car, so good that it's better than most 187 scale manufacturers are doing it, then the 187 manufacturer should be able to pull it off as well. Just, I mean, even if they're just racing stripes, which is a lot easier than a flame job along the side of a car.
Yeah,
You would
I
think
guess
they would do that.
the problem with that, I would guess, it would be the audience those cars are made for, trains and whatnot. It's those guys probably don't really care. They're into the
They're just using it
diesel,
as
whatever.
background.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're more into the trains than they are the cars, and we're the other way around, where we care
Well,
about the cars more
you
than the
people
trains.
don't know nothing. It's all about the cars.
Right? I feel the
um,
same way.
yeah. I mean, the car's got to look just as good as the train.
Right?
Geez, what if the
Or
car is parked in front of the train? Then
or
that's what you're seeing first.
or the building in the
Come on,
background.
people.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what I kind of want to get into next is there's not very many people. I think there's a good handful, maybe two handfuls across the world that have really dove into the movie TV car world of this scale. And you were one of them that dove into it and started making your own movie TV cars that you've liked, like the General Lee you just posted. Other people have dabbled into making that car. I
Yeah.
think once Oxford offered up that body, I think you took that and ran with it, which is exactly what I would have done. And since then, you've built other movie cars, and I think that's great.
Yeah. So the Oxford, I've posted it a couple times and got some flack because it wasn't the correct year Charger.
Whatever.
So I kind of like cheated and made decals. It made
Oh,
it the
look at
correct
you.
year. The correct year Charger. I don't know. I don't. Charger expert. I don't know if the body is different or whatever, but I know the grill and the taillights are different. So
It's past my time frame of classic cars. I like
right.
65 and older, not 65 and newer. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it's the right body style neither. It looks right to me though.
Right. So I made last year for RPM. I made the whole Boar's Nest diorama. So I had Daisy's Jeep, the two Roscoe police cars, Boss Hog's Cadillac, and the Cooter's tow truck, and Uncle Jesse's white truck. So I made that last year for RPM, and that was the General Lee, actually from that scene. I've made the A-Team van out of a Trident red van, and I just masked off and spray painted the black and the gunmetal gray or whatever it is on top,
Nice.
leaving the red base there. So I knew those two colors would cover the red, so I started out with the red. van. I'm trying to think what other movie cars I've done. Not as many as you have, for sure.
No. Well, which is funny because there was a guy on the movie TV car group. He posted his collection. He had a lot of big rigs like BJ and the Bear and
Oh yeah,
all these other ones, and plus like passenger vehicle movie cars. And I thought I had a huge collection. And then I saw his. He had like 3 shelves full of just movie car, TV car, 187 scale. And I was like, what the heck? That's just, but I think possibly the big rigs, took up like 4 car lengths of movie cars. So that filled up a lot of the room on each shelf. So
right.
maybe it wasn't as many, but I mean, it was still way more than I had. And I thought I was doing pretty good until I saw his collection.
Yeah. I did make the Smoking the Bandit truck too. I forgot about that. When the Real Ride car came out, I was like, oh, let me make the truck. So that was one of my first trucks. I did the Maximum Overdrive truck too, the one with the green goblin on the front.
Yeah. See, and I knew you did more than what you were just thinking about 5 seconds ago, but yeah, those are cool.
So I've made a couple, but not a ton.
No, I see you probably making more in the future. Maybe not a whole ton more, but I mean, there's going to be something that you see that's going to catch your eye and you're going to be like, I got to have it. Yeah,
I got some projects in mind. Just need more time.
Oh, that's the biggest problem is time. It's everybody's big problem. Yeah. And then if you're working, which hopefully you are, then, that takes up most of your day is work.
Sure does.
I've been lucky to be able to work from home and not have to have my supervisor or management team looking over my shoulder every 5 seconds. So hopefully none of you management are watching this, but there's been a lot of building on the clock that I've been doing. No kidding, I was working today and I had just finished another 125th scale model car that took me 3 days to build. Oh, and it was all during my work day.
Well, I'm working from home as well, but I mostly have just the printer going in the background more than I am sitting at the model desk. But
see, I really probably need to do that thing because that could literally be going in the background as I'm building and working. I could have 3 things going on at the same time instead of just 2.
Maximize your time.
Wasting my time, yeah. Because I'm not going to be able to do it if I have to go back into my building. So I'm trying to get as much done and not utilizing my printer at all. Things.
You got to work on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. I consider you my friend, and I hope the same to you for me because we could definitely talk about this and figure this problem of mine out.
Right.
But that's cool. I like the fact that you're doing modern stuff. I like the fact that you dove into the movie car world. I like that you're building vehicles. And I like that I know your work can take time out of your building, but it seems like when your work doesn't take time, you seem to be able to get stuff done and you post. I don't say quite frequently because I know how much you're working at times, but when you do model, it seems like the post can come out much quicker, and then the stuff that you post is just pretty cool. Like you had printed that exoskeleton of that car with like a frame and just the body of it. That
the
I don't
chassis.
think anybody's ever done that.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was a neat idea.
I saw that and I had to have it. I'm like, well, I got to try it. And
right.
The first couple of prints failed, but it finally came out where I had supported it the correct way and was able to get it off the supports without breaking the actual chassis of the car. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
I mean, that's like literally, I worked in a body shop for 6 months as an estimator, not an actual body guy. And I'm constantly talking to the body people every day, giving them their paperwork or giving them the parts that came in or whatever. And I've literally seen that car that you printed in the body shop on a lift getting worked on. And I think that's one of the neatest things. Like, I don't know, it may seem stupid and not cool to some people, but just the fact that you got just the shell of a body with the frame and nothing in the interior, like as if it was being built or worked on from a assembly line.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool too. When I saw it, I said I had to have it. And I downloaded the a file and scaled it down to 187. I think it was a 164. Whoever designed that.
That's crazy too, because I mean, I won't say I'm heavily into 164th, but I follow it like 100%, just like I follow this scale and I follow the 125th scale. And not maybe in the 3D printing world, I don't follow both scales except for the 187 scale, but I didn't know that that was even an option to do just like an exoskeleton of a body with nothing in it in that scale. So that's neat that you found it, because I wouldn't even looked for it.
I think I stumbled upon it on one of my travel trips or whatever. I was just perusing through the
through Thingiverse.
Yeah, there's a ton of them out there besides Thingiverse, but yeah, I think I might have gotten that from Thingiverse, but yeah, it was pretty cool find. You know, sometimes you see stuff and you're like, I'll go back and get it, and you never can find it again.
Oh, geez, Shapeway alone.
Yeah.
If like I have several web pages up just from Shapeway of different creators, so I don't lose their page and I can constantly stay on top of anything that they've updated. But when you're in just the funnel of Shapeway and you type in 187 scale, oh my God, if you find something, you better bookmark it or save it, because you're never going to find it again.
Right.
It's like a million different products, designs being uploaded daily to that scale.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah. Half the time I'm perusing or browsing on my telephone, so I can't download video or files to my telephone. So
I do it
I
on my work
screenshot it
computer.
and try it, like try to find it later.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. I've been seriously considering, and I don't even know if it would be worth it. I know in the long run it would, once I get my butt in gear and actually decide to learn how to use it. But I've been seriously thinking of a resin 3D printer, like what you got and what many other people got that have just the more superior casting abilities to do. But I can't even figure out my own printer, which isn't resin. So I don't know that I would figure out that one if I were to get it right now. But yeah, I think that's the future as of right now, what you got in the resin 3D printing, because it just gives you a more superior print quality.
Yeah, it does. And I think to me too, like just the body of the car is cool and pretty cars, but printing details of stuff also. Like I found a 80s style car top carrier, you know, that used to have in the 80s, the big clamshell that you put on top of the car to go on vacation. Yeah, right. Stuff like that. That was pretty cool. Found a more modern, sleeked one, like brush guards and stuff for trucks or roll bars for trucks, you know. I've been dabbling in printing some of that stuff. I have the print somewhere in my collection of stuff, but haven't found it from my move yet. But yeah, I have, you know, stuff to detail out a Trident pickup truck to make it a brush guard in the front, and a big roll bar like they had in the 80s with the two smiley face lights on the top. Yeah. I don't even know what those things are called.
Well,
But yeah,
their dust covers is what
yeah,
you see the smiley face cup, print on. But yeah, they're just
right.
the spotlights
Yeah.
and the
So
dust covers for the spotlights.
that and where did I put it? I was messing with the Bush Ford E350 van chassis. I printed like a U-Haul bed that you can put directly on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's hollow, lightweight, fits directly on the bed that's there already. I need to make some decals for these babies. And then I also did a RV to replace the box truck, whatever. So it's the same principle.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's an RV shell just to put right over the top. And I think I posted some of those pictures on the group. But, I recently moved, so everything had to go in storage for a little while to make the house look decent, to sell it and move and
Yeah.
unpack and all that jazz. So I'm just now getting back to where I can go back to full-time, or not full-time
That's
modeling, but
that's
full-time on
cool
my
though.
part-time modeling. Yeah,
That's
so the
that's
detail
just
parts,
cool.
is, what you can also explore with those printers, not just the actual cars itself, but, maybe print a
Right. Well,
chassis for
you
a
showed
lowrider with
me,
a,
right. You
yeah,
showed me that you had printed, what did you print? I guess maybe it was the push guards for a truck, or you showed me something that your printer was able to print out something as thin. I don't even know what the millimeter would be like, but it was such a thin piece of, I don't know, resin or 3D,
resin. Yeah, it's resin.
yeah, a wire that was shaped. Maybe it was a push guard. I don't know,
I
but
think
it was
so, yeah.
so thin. It was unbelievable that the printer could print that, and I was amazed.
Yeah, I'm still learning the capabilities of it myself. I've had it a couple months, I guess, now, but haven't really taken the time to really print a lot of stuff on it so far. I've printed a fair deal or a fair amount of stuff, but not a ton of stuff like I want to. But time.
Yeah, well, yeah. I've had this idea that I wanted to. I figured I was going to do it in resin casting like Mike Budd does, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to do it in the way my printer does it. But it's an idea that I've been wanting to do. I wanted to take the RPM chassis, not RPM, RPS, Ford chassis, and I
Yeah.
wanted to make off-road suspensions for them.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
you could have like a lift kit. So you can, instead of having to scratch build something, you can just have it printed, and then all you gotta do is paint it. Most of the time, you're just gonna paint it black anyways, and then
Right.
slap the wheels on and call it done. But that's been an idea I've had for some time, to do an off-road lifted suspension kit for those trucks. And then I want to make, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I would love to make an adjustable suspension chassis for my lowriders. Even
That would be pretty cool.
even just to have it lift up and down. I don't need it to, do fancy stuff, but just to have where the wheels are glued onto the suspension parts, but you can move them, so you can pose the car in different angles and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
because I'm building them, and I don't want to build it if I can just print a version of it that automatically allows me to do that.
right. Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to begin to even think about that. That's kind of small for 187.
Right. Well, that's the problem. I know the resin printer can have a better option of probably figuring it out, but with it
Yeah.
being so small, it might just still be too small. So
Yeah.
it may not be able to work, even if the printer could try to make it. It probably wouldn't be able to do it. But it's been, I think it could do the RPM or RPS suspension trucks because, I mean, uh, Bush makes that monster truck kit,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think, and that's what I've been using. And if you could just get it to print that, I mean, it'd be a lot easier because the
Yeah, I
axles
think
are bigger.
either we can get one to find one to print or design one or have somebody
Right.
design it for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you just had like a universal one, it would work because you
Yeah.
just need the truck to be lifted. You don't need it to be an actual monster truck. You just need a
Right,
lifted truck. So universal kit would be good.
Yeah, it would be.
I don't know. And even if, well, with their crew cabs and their extended cabs, and I guess you'd have to have different options, but unless maybe you just built like the axle and the springs and then had that as the kit, and then you can just snap it onto the existing frame. I don't know. Who knows? This is something that is in the future I've been wanting to look at. But
Right. Yeah, I want to do the same thing. I had all these ideas in my head with making a modern scale like a Toyota or a Honda dealership or whatever that you don't ever see. Design it
right.
exactly the way they're designed out there today.
Yeah.
But there's not enough cars to go with it, so you have to design all the cars. And
Just you and Mike Budd. Just
yeah.
tell him, Mikey, I need you to cast all these Honda Civics.
Yeah, I've
I need
dabbled
100 of them.
in casting before. Like I said, I casted that CRX I had, and I took a Dremel or whatever, hollowed it out and hollowed the windows out so you can have a better looking casting than a solid resin. But that's pretty fun too, to duplicate your same model. You can really do that probably 10 times in an evening, have 10 of the same cars, instantly, basically.
You could do that with your 3D printing if you just line up the design one after another.
Yeah, you could. 6 hours in between prints.
Yeah. Well,
Or
that's what I was hoping, that if I got one, that's what I'd do. I would like put it in the design where the car's sitting up like this or whatever, and then have another one right next to it, and another one right next to it, another one, so it prints like 4 or 5 cars all at the same time.
right, yeah, I've kind of done that with the Tercel. Actually, I think I printed 3 bodies and 1 chassis this last print, and
That's cool.
yeah. So I am gonna have a bunch of them eventually painted up in every scheme color, kind of like Mike Budd does.
Yeah.
That they
awesome,
offered
man.
in that years. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents they bought an '89 Toyota Camry,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's like a square body car, because I think in '90 they decided to start curving it, or maybe '91 start putting more softer edges. And often thought about, do I need to find that car in this scale? Because it was the first car I drove that I went over 100 in. Does that mean anything? Do I need to have that?
Of course you do.
Right. Well, I don't know. But yeah, and then I don't really care to give it to my parents because they're not going to do nothing with it. It's too small of a car for them to like keep track of.
Right.
Don't put it on their mantle and then, have the windows open and the wind just blow it over and then it fall and get broken or whatever.
Make your childhood home and put the car in front of it and see if they recognize
Right.
it.
But yeah, so I guess since you're a car guy, what you said you kind of like the '80s, or not kind of, but your time frame is more the '80s. That's what you like. What is your favorite car? Like your all-time favorite?
Um,
Or do you have one?
Not really. I guess like
You're not a car guy. Get off my
yeah,
podcast.
yeah. Well, I want to say like this car, that car, you know, of my own personal cars. I had a Honda Civic Type R a couple years ago when they first came back out. I had it for about a year and a half or whatever, and had my fun with it, and sold it while the market was still hot for it, and made some money off of it. But
That's cool. You put a
that
Fast
was
and Furious sticker on the side?
it was a pretty fun little car, actually. You know, 300 horsepower and a little Honda Civic from factory.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean that car would really get it. That was, you know, pretty much my favorite car I had of my own cars. My favorite car out there. I don't know. It's too hard to say what it would be, I guess.
Well, I'm assuming then you have a few that you really like then. So there's
Yeah.
not like a favorite, but there's a good group of them that you just like a lot.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think it's like everybody else has the attachment of, you know, like your memory of your car, you're driving your mom's Camry over 100 or whatever, you know. I remember the first time I drove my mom's Honda Prelude. You know, I really have a soft spot in my heart for those cars, just because I learned how to drive that car. I get a lot of memories in that car. We drove, you know, that baby across country a couple times, me and her, when my dad was in the military, you know. So I don't know. I have a lot of soft spot for those older cars like that. And they're not.
That's cool.
Seems older to me now, I guess. You know, they're 30 years old now, but.
Well, the country of our country, a classic car is 25 and older years.
Yeah.
A vintage car is 30 years or older. So
Wow.
Your favorite car is vintage.
Vintage.
Now.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought something
Right.
from the 90s could ever be vintage?
Right.
Much less the 80s.
True. Right. Seems like not too long ago, really.
Right. No, it wasn't long ago. It wasn't long enough. That's for sure. Not to be classic or vintage.
Right.
But then I always looked at the 80s cars. I'm not really a fan of 80s. I'm not a huge fan of 70s. Because like I said, my time frame of cars is like 65 and older. And that's the love affair I have for classics is 65 and older. I do appreciate the muscle car era that they gave to the horsepower world and just classic cars in general. I do appreciate them. It's just not my thing. So yeah, when the 80s got here, there's nothing in my head that would have ever said that decade of cars would ever be considered to be anything but junk, because most of the cars were junk. And so I would have never thought there could ever be like our country would have said, yep, that's a classic now. You can get classic car insurance for an 80s car.
Yeah, I always think about that kind of stuff now, where people see a old Mustang or Chevelle or something like that, and you know that car is like something that stands out to everybody or whatever. But in 30 years from now, you're gonna see a Kia and be like, "Oh, look at that!"
Right.
Yeah.
Like the very first Kia, which whenever that came out, late 90s, early 2000s, if somebody still has a mint condition version of that, you're going to be like, what? How? Why? Why isn't this in a junkyard?
Right, exactly.
That's cool, though. That's cool that at least you have cars that you like, because there's one thing to be in this hobby, like cars, collect cars, but you're not really a car person, you know. You're doing it because of the hobby.
Right.
So some people like to just collect one of everything just to say I have it, but don't really care about any of them. It's just, oh, I finished this collection. I know in the Hot Wheels world they do that. They have to have every single car that came out that year and every single color variation there was. And then if they don't have it, they just search and search and search until they can find it. But they don't really care about the car. They care about the series and the collection of the car. So it's cool that you have cars that you like enough to want to print them, have them for yourself, and have I don't know if it's a passion, but you definitely have a care for that particular car.
Right.
That's cool, and that's what I think that the modeling world definitely needs, because you can be a modeler and just build a little bit of everything. Um, and then there's some things that you just have a passion to build. Like me, my passion's cars. I like cars, so I'm gonna keep building cars. I even like
Right.
modern cars, even though my passion is classic cars. I'll build the modern cars. I'll just build them custom. Um, so my passion's cars. Your passion seems to be, I don't know if it's necessarily cars or if it's just building, period. Not buildings, but building the model. So whether it be cars, buildings, dioramas, whatever,
Right.
you have a common passion for building, which is really cool. It's really neat to see that, because there are collectors and then there's modelers, and
Right.
you are a modeler, which
Well,
I definitely appreciate.
yeah, it's a pretty fun hobby, whatever you want to call it. uh, Good stress reliever,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
keeps your mind busy, uh, and then you have some cool stuff afterwards
Right.
that
And
not
I've said
everybody else
this in
has.
right, and I've said this in other podcasts, other one of my podcasts, that the neat thing about this scale in general is everybody in this hobby of ours is so friendly, so willing to help, and just generous. Um, it's such a neat little community that we have for our 187 scale world, that if you're ever looking for something, you ever need something, you ever have a question, somebody out there in our scale has the answer somehow.
Definitely, and more than happy to share it.
Right. And I
Yeah.
know, like, when I first met you, like, honestly, before we started IMing each other about RPM last year, I don't really know anything about you. I
Right.
didn't, I don't know that I, with everybody that's in the hobby, I don't know that I paid attention to what was happening, if what you were posting or not. I know I'll like almost every single person that posts anything in our 187 scale group, just to be supportive, but it
Right.
may not be my thing, or I may not have any clue who you are, but okay, cool. You're building stuff. I'll support it. Awesome. You know. So before we started IMing each other and talking about RPM, I didn't know anything about you. And as soon as I met you, we like clicked, and it was cool. We hung out like that whole weekend, which I was
Right.
hoping to do this year, but
Yeah, me
oh
too.
well.
There's always
Yeah.
next year.
And so the viewers know, um, Joseph was the first person I contacted to do these interviews, and he had problems with moving and time restrictions, and he was working way too much at that point when I offered him to do this. Um, so I'm glad that we finally got to do this.
Yeah, me too. It's been fun, and we can
Yeah,
catch back up later on after we get some more bills under our plate and share
yeah,
some more.
definitely. Yeah, that I plan on doing that as soon as I get done with this round of guests, which I don't know where it's ending and how soon or how long it's going to take. Once I get completely done, I'm going to start the round over again and see who wants to come back on and win, and start scheduling more time. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
I know I'll definitely want to hear from you more. I think the viewers and the listeners will want to hear what you're building, and,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
been pretty cool to watch all your podcasts so far, and then see Mike, all the people that I met at the RPM, Matt, and the Kellys. I didn't really
right.
spend a lot of time to talk to them, But it's nice to see everybody that you've actually met in person, and people you haven't met in person. You get to put a face with the name and all the work that
Right.
they do.
Well, and that's literally why I thought about doing this podcast, was to kind of get to know the builder. Because even if we go to a show, we see all your stuff on the table, but we don't hang out. I still don't know you.
Right.
I see what you build. I don't know the passion you have for it. I don't know why you do it. And unless we were to hang out, I don't know anything about you. So I thought this podcast would be a great uh, to get to know the modeler, get to know
Right.
what they like, what they build, and why they have the passion for it, and talk about anything and everything about them that they like about the hobby. And I think with what I've recorded in these podcasts, that for the most part gets through. Um, you'll see in next week's episode, I got a Radcliffe. It's a 2.5 hour long podcast,
Oh my goodness.
all about military vehicles.
Yeah.
And it only ended because I think he at the end said, "Holy cows, this has been going on for 2.5 hours." I said, "Wow." I
Wow.
think that's
Yeah.
the only reason why it ended. But yeah,
Yeah. I've seen some of his work. His work is pretty awesome.
yeah, he's great. And I'll be honest, it's everybody I've talked to does really good work uh, in their own little world. Like
Yeah.
everything they've done is really, really well done. I
That's very
mean,
true. Yeah. Very true.
yeah, even like you, in my opinion, your buildings are considered master modeler skill buildings. I put you right up there with like Ken Hamilton and David Raleigh and all the other people that build realistic, very well done model buildings. Um, I hold you like up there with them.
Don't
So,
put me up there too high.
okay, right there with that. There, here, you're there. No, your buildings are good though. I mean, they're really good. You lit them up. You put the people in them. You put the detail, like the drive-through sign. You have a light in it. Come on. I have the
Yeah.
Mel's Diner. I have no lights in my signs. It's just in the interior of the building, and you can't see in it hardly.
Yeah, I actually
So, I
have two
mean,
of those kits I need to build. Uh, do something with them. I don't know. I bought them on eBay on a fluke, but
yes, so did I. I still have one that
yeah.
I'm finished. I haven't built, but I don't have it. Uh, I took the neon light for a 1/25th scale model that I decided to build instead.
Oh,
So I
okay.
ripped it off of the Mel's Diner so I can put it in this other car.
Oh,
So now I gotta get another neon light to put on that kit. But
yeah.
yeah, do that. Light it up and make it better than mine. Right now,
Yeah.
I think the only person that's made the best Mel's Diner kit is Junior Berg, and he's coming up in an upcoming podcast as well, and he
Oh,
talks
nice.
about it. And that thing had like an MP3 player playing actual 50s music. It had
Oh,
lights
wow.
everywhere. He detailed the interior, scratch built everything, so it's
Wow.
not the cardboard cutouts that the kit comes with that I used.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy is amazing. But um, yeah, man, this was great. I think you'll definitely be on again in the future.
For
If you
sure. For
want,
sure.
definitely, and we'll talk about whatever else you have built or you have building or you plan on building.
All right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, this was fun, man. I enjoyed
For
it.
sure. Yeah, it's been awesome. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to be on it again because I think when the viewers watch and listen to this, they'll be pretty I think they'll like it a lot, knowing that you build modern day buildings. And for everybody watching and listening, on the description below this video, we'll have the link to his Facebook page. So if you want to contact him about a future project, you can go ahead and do so, or just see anything he's posted. You can friend him, whatever, but it's just so you can get to know the modeler.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're going to end this podcast. So for everybody watching, this has been Joseph Blevins. See, I'd already forgot it. Joseph Blevins.
Yeah.
And this is Halfass Presents the podcast. This podcast is over.